O soul, intruder in nature's ignorance. This is what we saw last time also. Yes, he has really intruded, he has kind of pushed itself into this ignorance. It became curious and jumped into the prey. It was happy up there, but then he wanted to experience the torture of ignorance, the misery of suffering. And well, there you are. Perhaps there is a certain kind of a joy in that, the joy that it can be transformed. And it is that joy which it carries, and therefore it plunges into ignorance, nature's ignorance. Armed traveller to the unseen supernal heights, thy spirit's fate is a battle and ceaseless march. Obviously, when you are in the domain of nature's ignorance, as long as you are there is bound to be the battle, the struggle, the suffering. You can't escape it in nature. Soul and nature, they are, so to say, in conflict with each other in a certain sense. Nature is ignorant, poor nature, she has accepted that thing, and soul has entered. Now, soul cannot accommodate itself easily, will not. Why should it? It wants to transform nature. So, it has to meet the opposition of nature also. The struggle is there. Unseen supernal height, thy spirit's fate is a battle and ceaseless march against invisible opponent powers, a passage from matter into timeless self. Well, because of nature's ignorance, soul has entered into it, and therefore this is a battle. Adventurer through blind, unforeseen time. A force advance through a long line of lives. Again, it says long line of lives. Force advance. It has to cut the way through ignorant nature. It has to cut the way through ignorant nature. Therefore, it is a struggle. It is a forced advance for soul. And the whole process is a long line. Life after life, we have to carry on this work. It is not that it will be done easily. Now, this is something which is important in the sense that if folks advance through a long line of lives, nobody can stop it. You have to undergo through the whole process. Does it mean that the divine grace cannot help us? That we have to undergo through this long line of lives, suffer and all that thing. Will not the divine grace come and make that long line a short one? Does it mean that the divine grace does not work, does not help us? Mother is forthright. She says, but the divine grace is always there. The divine grace is always there. It is we who do not receive it. It is we who come in the way of the divine grace. In other words, the problem is not the inner being, the outer nature, nature's ignorance. We have accepted this condition of nature, and we have to put in our bit of work to come out of it. Then only the divine grace can work. It's always there. It's something like saying, well, the divine food is always there. Go to the dining room and you have got the divine food there always. But then the point is, you have to go to the dining room. You have to go to the dining room. That is your part of the work. They are all ready, prepared. But then you have to go and take the thali and pick up the food, you see. That is the part which we had to do. That we don't do. And therefore, although there is a divine grace always there, a certain degree of preparation from our part is necessary. In fact, in that little book, the mother, Shebanu says, don't expect that the Divine Mother will do even the sadhana for you. It is mental inertia, physical inertia, vital inertia. We think that, okay, I am not, Ma karegi, she will do everything. It's not that. You have to do your part of the job. That is important. And unless that is done, the divine grace cannot work. From that point onward, the divine. You have to put yourself in the hands of the Divine Mother. And then let her do her work in you unhindered. She will do the work unhindered on that point. But then you have to put yourself in her hand. And then only you see the action of the true grace. Until then, it is a force advanced through a long line of lives. It is there. You can't help it. It is there. We have to do our part. It pushes its spearhead through the centuries. Narad is very considerate to us that, all right, this is a hard work, but it is only through the centuries. It is not for millennia that you have to keep on doing it. He is considerate. You have to do your part of the work. It pushes its spearhead to the centuries. And then we have got here a long simile. 14 lines. See. Across the dust and mire of the earthly plain. So the army is marching on the battlefield, and then what will happen? The dust will rise. The horses are running and the dust will rise. On many guarded lines and dangerous fronts, in dire assault, in wounded slow retreats, or holding the ideal's battered fort, or fighting against odds in lonely posts, or camped in night around the bivouacs of fires, awaiting the tardy trumpets of the dawn, in hunger and in plenty and in pain, through peril and through triumph and through fall, through life's green lanes and over the desert sand, up the Barmoor, along the sunlit ridge, in serried column to the straggling rear, led by its nomad vanguard signal fires, marches the army of the way lost God. This is a real long simile, complete battlefield picture, you see. Little old one, not modern battle, you see. Where you got cavalry, you got horses, you got big armies. Modern battlefields are different, you see. You don't really march like that, you start shooting missiles, you see, straight away from the, or use drones, you see. So in that sense, it's a little old picture. It's a very elaborate simile. In fact, it continues later on also. Then laid the joy ineffable is spelled. Then he remembers his forgotten self. He has refound the skies from which he fell. At length, his front's indomitable line forces the last passes of the ignorance. So the march, this battle is going on. Advancing beyond nature's last known bound reconnoitering the formidable unknown beyond the landmass of things visible. It mounts to a miraculous upper air till climbing the mute summit of the world, he stands upon the splendor peace of God. So that's the complete picture of the battle, and finally how he stands above all these things. Now, this long description of the battle scene, we have a number of instances of this kind, of long similes drawn like that in Savitri. And in long similes, they are called Homeric similes. Homer's epics contain long drawn series like that. The scene is going on elsewhere, but he is describing the whole thing in a different context, in a different language. They are called Homeric similes. We had a number of similes like that in Savitri, and this is one of the most beautiful examples. Actually, toward the end of the first book, the sailor on the flow of time, Ashwapati's soul is free, Ashwapati's spirit is released from the bondage of nature, is free completely. Now he is free and he can move around anywhere he wants in the cosmic planes. He can sail through all the oceans, all the 7 oceans, climbing one above the other. So he becomes the sailor of the 7 seas. And it runs over a number of pages, that whole simile. 17.1 onward. This is the sailor on the flow of time. This is world matters' slow discoverer, who launched into the small corporeal birth, has learned the craft in tiny bays of self, but dares at last unplumbed infinitude, a voyager upon eternity's seas. So this is the introduction. He is a voyager on eternity's seas, and then it goes on till the end of the section, till 17.30. So all these 30 sentences, that is a description of the sailor on the seas of eternity. And it's a very beautiful description, very detailed description. In fact, I would say such a long drawn simile, this is a unique example in the entire literature. Homeric similes are short, a few lines. But here we have got a whole section in the form of a simile coming up here. Then we have a shorter one, 106.56. Now, here Ashwapati is describing his young daughter Savitri to Narad, and he says how she has grown up from her childhood to the present maidenhood. So that's a description. He says, as grow the great and golden bounteous tree, flowering by Alakananda's murmuring waves. He is describing how Savitri has grown up, her father. As grow the great and golden bounteous tree, flowering by Alakananda's murmuring waves. Alakananda, that's the river which joins the Ganges later on. Where with enamored speed waters run, lisping and babbling to the splendor of morn, and clean with lyric laughter around the knees of heaven's daughters, dripping magic rain, pearl bright from moon gold limb and cloudy hair. So are her dawns like jeweled leaves of light. See this long simile. As grow the great golden bounteous tree, etc., etc., so are her, Savitri's dawns, Savitri's days, are like jeweled leaves of light. This is called the Homeric simile. Relatively a short one compared with the other. But this is also, in fact, normally the length of the Homeric simile is of this kind. So, in the sense of the comparison, comparative number of lines, this is a perfect example of the Homeric simile. And then now the whole picture you have to imagine the battlefield, you see. Because he says it's a battle, no? Through long centuries pushes the march, etc., etc. He has said already struggle and all that. So across the dust and mire of the earthly plain, so the horses running, the army is running and all that kind of a thing, you see. On many guarded lines and dangerous fronts, in dire assault, in wounded, slow retreat. So you make advance, you retreat also. Or holding the ideals battered fort, you hold up your ideals, but then again it gets attacked. Or fighting against odds in lonely post, so you are guarding a certain post and fighting against that thing. Well, or fighting against odds in lonely post. This is the example. The example of this one is, if I have read Shrevendu's Baji Prabhu, it's a small narrative of about 600 lines, where one Maratha general, he was holding the pass for a long time, alone, absolutely. It's a very beautiful example of that thing, you see. Fighting against odds, he has to face now a huge army coming and rushing to the pass. With a few soldiers, maybe some 100, 150 soldiers, and he alone, he has to fight there, you see. Or camped in night around the bivouac's fire. Now, bivouac is the open camp on the battlefield, without tent, without things. So you sit in the night, means it is susceptible to attack any time, but you take the risk in the night. See. Awaiting the tardy trumpets at the dawn, so you are there in the camp and waiting for the dawn to come, so that the march can proceed further. Trumpets at the dawn, in hunger and in plenty and in pain. Well, that is applied to the soldiers, basically. Through peril and through triumph and through fall. Well, this is what happened in the case of the First World War, no? The trenches were there and how people were suffering, all that in the First World War. Through life's green lanes and over a desert sand. So all the arts of life are there, the beautiful things of life are also there. Through life's green lanes and over a desert sand. Up the bar moon, not even a blade of grass is there, along the sunlit ridge, in serried column, it is straggling rear. So the column is moving and few people at the end of the column, they are straggling. Led by its nomad vanguard signal fires. So signal fires are there in the night and the army is marching forward. Marches the army of the way lost God. So that is what happens in our life, you see. Way lost God. Well, the God does not lose the way, but that is what happens in life here. In a certain sense, he also loses the way because he has accepted the conditions of nature. He has to work out also his progress. Then laid joy ineffable spirit. When he is now marching, then you experience the joy. Then he remembers his forgotten self. When you have struggled, battled against all these odds, then you remember what he had lost, forgotten self. He has refound skies from which he fell. Now again, this is the reference. This is in reference to what Narada has started in the beginning. That it is your soul who had plunged into this one. From the skies it came down here. It plunged into this ignorant world. Now he has refound his way after this struggle, after this march. The skies from which he fell. He is able to recover after his battle the way to reach his destination.